Rekha, we honor your forceful, eloquent voice in support of women and children and all who suffer injustice and discrimination. Your writing gives us clarity, compassion, and hope for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Sally in absentia, and thank you to Maggie. Maggie, you probably wouldn't have any way of knowing this, but I actually wrote you in on the school board election this week. I'm very sorry you didn't win. You should have. So, mine namastes to you and salutes. That's how highly I think of you and your work. Well, this award is very meaningful to me. And one of those reasons is that I have been, for a long time, trying to figure out how to work the word feisty into my resume, and it never quite comes easily. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. I also must say that I feel fairly secure that I won't be asked to give it back when you find out that I spoke at a Planned Parenthood event earlier this summer. I want to offer my heartiest congratulations to Jane Majors. We don't know each other that well, but I know that you are a tiger in the best senses of the word, and that your emails continue to fill my inbox to the point where I can't send anything out anymore. Just a tiny indication of how incredibly feisty you are, but you did do a tremendous service after the Japanese nuclear disaster by coming on my talk show and helping to explain the context of the enormity of the situation for us here in Iowa. Thank you. I want to thank all of my friends in the room, and particularly at these two tables, a very feisty bunch who keep me grounded. And in particular, Rick Van Ol, a special thank you to you for being a partner. And I want to say that this event comes at a particularly important time as we're all kind of suffering through campaign fatigue in Iowa. Presidential candidates are storming the state, each trying to out-sanctimony each other, with who's more anti-abortion or anti-healthcare or anti-taxes or anti-government or anti-immigration. The only thing they're for, apparently, is God and corporations, as long as both are white, Christian, anti-gay, anti-union, and anti-regulation. And amid all this rhetoric, it can be easy for some of us to lose sight of the truth, especially those who haven't really studied the issues and who take candidates at their word. But just when you start to despair at the power of the right-wing corporate spin, you stumble upon Locust Avenue, where the good women of Wilf are standing on a homemade soapbox in the middle of downtown, holding up a bullhorn and demanding that corporate personhood come to an end. And telling us that a U.S. bank can get $1 trillion bailout and make over $4 billion in profits, but pay no U.S. taxes by being registered in the Cayman Islands. Or you're down at the farmer's market, and there they turn up these beautiful women in beauty pageant sashes, staging their own tongue-in-cheek I Miss Democracy rally. You, Wilf, you do these things with a sense of playfulness and unabashedness that just gives one hope. And that's when you're not helping to start a food co-op or a Somali cab company in town. Wilf defines the term strong, feisty woman. And that's the theme of this evening. And I want to just take a few minutes to talk about that notion of strong and feisty. I got a letter this week from a guy I don't know who wants me to write a story he claims to have to tell about graft, corruption, and malfeasance at the highest levels. We were introduced about 4 years ago at a bar in Des Moines one afternoon. Now, I have no recollection of this meeting. I do hope that if it was an afternoon, it was on a weekend. I would be tempted to say it didn't really happen, except he went on to say, I remember, if I remember correctly, you were wearing all black and it was 100 degrees outside. That would be me. Then he said, I am a fan of your work. You proceed with a story with little regard of whose toes you step on in the process. It was a nice compliment, and what is true is that I always seem to have someone mad at me, and often someone in a very high position. Right now, it's the entire Catholic Church hierarchy in Des Moines, which is sobering. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but you never know. But it could just as easily be the governor or the school district administration or an insurance company. And the truth is, it's never that simple or that easy to have people mad at you, even when it's for the right reasons. Because the dirty little secret is we all want to be liked. So I'm always looking for inspiration on how to deal with the opposite. Now, I read that a new reality show was premiering this week where public figures are hated and they confront their haters about why they hate them. So I thought maybe I could learn something in endurance from that. So I turned the TV on and I took a sneak peek at the first edition. And there was this woman, I think she's from New Jersey, and her name is Snooki. And she was wearing quite a bit of makeup and some hot pants, and she was getting in the face of the person that hated her with some rather vile obscenities. And just as that was all starting, my friend Vicky walked in the door and looked as if she had caught me in the act of something terribly shameful and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you needed privacy." I said, no, Vicky, you don't understand. I'm just trying to figure things out. The truth is, there have been times, particularly earlier in my career, when the hate mail would really get to me. And then, without really acknowledging I was doing it, I would back off on writing the really controversial stuff for a while. So instead, I'd write pablum, and nobody would respond, and then I'd get insulted that nobody was responding. And then I'd remind myself what I'm in this for and how I came to be a journalist. And it was not out of any childhood yearning for such a career. It was as an activist who felt that by telling the stories that weren't being told, you could open people's eyes in ways that would lead them to act and would result possibly in change. And I had to remember I was not doing this to be loved. That's what I have friends and family for. It's always going to be true that when you try to tell unpopular truths that challenge a particular power structure, people will fight back, and they'll even make it personal. This week, for example, someone posted online that I have a hatred of men and a belief that all women are victims, which is, quote, the tiresome narrative in Basu's writings since she came crawling back from Florida like a whipped dog. A whipped dog? I thought I came back triumphantly because Iowa really wanted me back. But it doesn't matter. None of that should matter. When 1 in 6 people in America lives in poverty, while 1% of all households take in nearly a quarter of all income. Or when people have to go into bankruptcy because they can't afford their health care bills. Or when the state of Iowa has to be sued in order to offer jobs to qualified black people. Hear, hear. And this is why we all need to give each other the courage to say and do what's right. And why Wilf is such a great role model and source of inspiration. This award will keep me centered when I occasionally lose my sense of perspective. And it will encourage me to keep stepping on toes even when those toes are bigger than mine. And I sincerely thank you for that.
Thanks again for both of you, our 2011 Strong Feisty Award winners. Thanks very much.